Hey, it's Tuesday, everybody. Great to be with you. Let's talk about a lovely feeling that we sometimes get to experience. You know, the feeling that you get is something like this happens when you have to go up on stage and make a speech. You know what feeling I'm talking about? I was actually told one time about somebody that I know that actually made sure that they were not the valedictorian of their school because they were terrified of having to get up and give a speech in front of their class and in front of the parents. So they made sure that they didn't do it because it was more than their nerves would be able to handle. Really, when you think about it, there's so much in life that we avoid because it's nerve-wracking. When sometimes what we really need to do is just learn to take our fears or learn to take our nerves and take them head on. Imagine what would not get done if every one of us were stalled out when we get to something that is nerve-wracking to us. Calls wouldn't be made, drives would not happen, inventions would be left on the table. But here's the good news. God knows your nerves, and He's working to help push you through them. Take, for example, the second person or really group of people that He showed Himself to, that Jesus Christ showed Himself to after the resurrection. It was the women. Forget that His appearance to them broke all cultural bounds and it really reminded all of mankind that gender is not what determines a person's value. Forget that. Set that aside. I mean, I realize girls and guys have different gifts and they have some different abilities and maybe even different rules or roles in their person due to their makeup. But that doesn't change that we have equal value as men and women as far as God is concerned. But that's not the most remarkable lesson that we're going to see from this encounter that Jesus had with the women. In fact, what really happens here and what we really are going to learn doesn't necessarily stand out at first in our reading. So let me show you how this went down. Matthew chapter 28 and verse 1 says this. After the Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other women went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb rolled back the stone and sat on it. You see, his appearance was like lightning and his clothes were as white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you're looking for Jesus who was crucified. He's not here. He's risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay, and then go quickly and tell his disciples he's risen from the dead and is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid, yet filled with joy, and they ran to tell his disciples. Now, from Matthew's description, you get the feeling that these women decided to just run boldly to the boys and tell them, "Hey, we saw Jesus, and if you don't believe me, you're just being an idiot." Well, I don't think it was really that simple. They were about to go tell the disciples what was going on, but it appears that when they were rushing their way over there, they had some second thoughts about maybe exactly what they should be saying. Yeah, I know this was their stage moment, but a woman on the stage in a situation like this was not as easy for their culture as it might be for a woman to do a presentation in the 20th century U.S. culture. You see, the guys were likely to mock them if they even bothered listening to them at all. And it really wasn't necessarily their place as women to be speaking about religious matters such as this. What I'm sure going through their mind were things like this. What if they weren't really angels? What if it was all a hallucination of some kind? What if Jesus really wasn't alive and wasn't going to meet the disciples in Galilee like he said he was? Then all of what they had established as far as respect from these guys that they had been doing life with for a period of time would have been thrown out the window. And in their culture, it was hard for a woman to gain any degree of respect from the other men. And that's when their nerves may have stopped them from doing what they needed to do. And that's when the next verse happens and Jesus shows up and says, girls, relax. Don't be afraid. I gotcha. Check this out. Verse 9. Suddenly, when they're on their way, Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. And they came to him and they clasped his feet and worshiped him. And Jesus said to them, don't be afraid. He knew. He said, don't be afraid. Go tell my brothers to go to Galilee where they will see me. Well, what makes me think that this is the reason that Jesus caught up with them, even though the angels told the girls what they were supposed to do? Because of Mark's description, really, of what was going on. Mark chapter 16 and verse 8 said this, trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were terrified. You see, Mark has a little bit of an additional understanding to what was going on. And you can see that maybe that's the moment, well, in fact, probably that's the moment Jesus stepped in. Hey guys, listen. When things are more than your nerves are ready to be able to handle, remember something. God's got you. He knows just what you're going to need. And he's able to give you the prompting that you're going to need to push you on. Don't let fear or anxiety or nerves or anything like that stop you from accomplishing what God is pushing you towards. But take the step. And then it's going to all work out fine. Sure, people might not believe you at first, like the girls experienced in this time. But at the end of the day, they will be the fools for not having jumped on board, not you. Trust God and go, even when it's a tad bit nerve-wracking to do so. He's got you. You go. We'll see you tomorrow.